It was just past 6:30 in the evening when I pulled the casserole out of the oven, the scent of roasted chicken and herbs filling the kitchen. The house was unusually quiet for a Wednesday. My husband, Gregory, had left for a business conference in Chicago that morning, and I hadn't quite gotten used to the hollow silence his absence brought. I had texted him a couple of times, and he had replied with the usual "meeting went well," followed by a smiley face. He always did that, little digital notes to reassure me he was thinking of home. Our son, Aiden, was upstairs in his room, headphones on, probably gaming or listening to his favorite podcast about weird scientific facts. He was 19, a freshman at the local college, but still living with us while attending school. He was quiet, polite, and generally kept to himself. As a mother, I often missed the days when he used to tug at my dress or sit next to me, narrating random thoughts. These days, it was mostly "yeah, I'm good, Mom," or a nod. But I understood he was growing up. As I plated dinner, I called out to him, "Aiden, dinner's ready." No answer. I waited a moment, then walked to the staircase. "Aiden." A few seconds passed before I heard the shuffling of feet and saw him coming down. He had on a loose t-shirt and sweatpants, and his brown hair was slightly tousled like he'd been napping. "Smells good," he said, his voice soft. "Thanks. Your dad's missing out tonight," I replied with a chuckle. He smiled faintly and sat down. We ate mostly in silence, with the occasional comment about school or the news playing on the TV in the background. After dinner, I began rinsing the dishes. Aiden stood there for a second, then offered to help. That was rare. I gave him a quick glance. "Really?" I teased. He shrugged. "You look tired, Mom." I got it. I smiled, grateful. As we cleaned up together, I noticed how tall he'd gotten. He was almost 6 feet 2 inches now. His voice, once high-pitched and full of excitement, had settled into a calm baritone. "You've really grown up on me," I said suddenly, feeling a bit emotional. He paused and looked at me. "You say that a lot." "Well, it's true," I laughed, drying my hands on a dish towel. That evening, I settled into the living room with a glass of tea and a throw blanket. The summer heat was still lingering outside, but the air conditioning kept things cool inside. I turned on an old rom-com, something light-hearted. Aiden came into the room a bit later and, to my surprise, sat on the other end of the couch. "You watching that old stuff again?" he asked, half amused. "It's not old. It's a classic." He chuckled and watched along with me. We hadn't spent an evening like that in a long time, no phones, no distractions, just the occasional shared laugh at the awkward romantic scenes. About halfway through the movie, I noticed he seemed a little restless. He kept glancing my way like he wanted to say something. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah, just. I've been meaning to talk to you about something." "Sure," I said, turning down the volume. He looked down, hesitant, and then said, "It's kind of weird." I raised an eyebrow. "Weird how?" He took a breath. "You know how Dad's been traveling more? And we don't really talk like we used to." "Yeah, I've noticed. He's busy with work, but that doesn't mean he's distant." "I know. It's not about him. It's more about us." I sat up straighter. "Us?" He nodded, then went quiet again for a long second. "You've always been the one I could talk to, Mom. When I had nightmares as a kid, when I broke up with Sarah in high school, you always listened. And I guess, lately, I've been feeling kind of lost." His voice cracked slightly, and I felt my chest tighten. I hadn't realized how much pressure he'd been carrying. Sometimes we assume our kids are fine because they don't complain. But inside, they could be unraveling. I moved closer to him, placing my hand gently on his arm. "Sweetheart, you can talk to me about anything. I'm your mother, and nothing you say will make me love you any less." He nodded, eyes slightly glassy. "I know. It's just sometimes I feel like I'm failing. Everyone around me is doing something great, and I'm just here. Living at home, taking general ed classes, no girlfriend, no goals. I don't know who I'm supposed to be." I hugged him without hesitation. He was so tall I had to reach up, and when he leaned his head onto my shoulder, I felt the weight of his unspoken sadness. "You're doing just fine," I whispered. "You're figuring it out, And that's okay. No one has it all planned at 19. Don't compare your path to anyone else's. You have time. He didn't say anything for a moment, but his arms wrapped around me tightly. It was the kind of hug you don't rush, the kind that says thank you. I needed this more than you know. We stayed like that until the credits rolled. When we finally pulled apart, he smiled, wiping his eyes. Thanks, Mom. I gave him a playful nudge. Now don't go thinking you can cry your way out of doing the dishes tomorrow. He laughed. Noted. He stood up, stretched, and looked down at me. I'm glad you were here tonight. So am I said genuinely. That night, as I climbed into bed, I reflected on the unexpected tenderness of the evening. It wasn't some dramatic event, but it was something more powerful, a moment of real connection. One that reminded me how important it was to stay present, to listen, and to let the people we love show us who they really are when they're vulnerable. My husband wasn't home, but in that absence, something deeper unfolded, a heart-to-heart with my son that I would treasure for the rest of my life. And yes, if someone had told me what would happen while Gregory was away, I probably wouldn't have believed it either. Because in a world full of noise, sometimes the quietest nights hold the biggest truths.